of the dinosaurs in Jurassic World Evolution could actually be contained? Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and today I am not alone because I am revamping one of my most popular videos on the channel, predicting Injustice 3. However, like I said, I'm not alone because I'm of the mindset that the more brains are on the project, the better it turns out. So, I have a special guest.
Hey everybody.
This is Mono. Mono's been a friend of mine for, what is it, a few months? 6 months now, at least? So I definitely met you on Twitter.
I actually don't even remember. I definitely met you on Twitter.
Yeah. So, Mono has their own channel. I'll make sure to remember to link it in the description and in the doobly-doo. And without further ado, I think the basic ground rules is just that we have 12 characters that we think are just going to be constants. Like the Batman and Superman, for instance, or the Scorpion and Sub-Zero of Injustice, because they're the Scorpion and Sub-Zero of DC. So it would be very odd, let's say, if Superman didn't turn up for Injustice 3. So that's part of that list. Mono, why don't you go first with your list? What did you have for your dozen or so?
Okay, so for my 12, I accidentally originally wrote 13, so I ended up scrapping the 13, but I'll talk about what that is in a moment.
Okay.
I wrote Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Harley Quinn, Black Adam, Bane, and Catwoman. Those who I think are the most realistic 12.
Yeah.
So, since, I think those are not exactly the mainstays, but the staples.
Yeah. And, the mainstays obviously being the Trinity plus a few of Batman's cadres. But for me, I had Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Joker, Harley, Green Arrow, Cyborg, Black Adam, Aquaman, Flash, Bane, and Catwoman. So I think we have a very similar, if not exactly the same list.
Yeah, I had just left out Joker. Mostly for him being not only dead, but at the same time just feeling like the character's a little oversaturated lately.
A little oversaturated, in my opinion, is one way to look at it. But but if we're being realistic here, the Joker is to Batman what Lex Luthor is to Superman. So while Lex Luthor wasn't in Injustice 2, weirdly enough, I feel like if NetherRealm would stop a mandate of having characters of all of the characters in the story mode have to be playable characters, I understand that pissed people off back in MKX because of, what was it, Tanya and Baraka and them, but with the Joker you could have afforded to because of where he was in the story mode, which was a hallucination anyway. So
Joker, Injustice 2 had a couple characters who really didn't play a massive role in this the game story.
Yeah,
I tend to forget Swamp Thing was a base roster character because his role in the story was very minimal.
Yeah,
and showed up for a fight and left.
At least he showed up more than Atrocitus did.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because Atrocitus just shows up once and then never again is mentioned.
Yeah, right. And I feel like it would have been cool to see him and Hal team up because they have a common enemy in Brainiac. Speaking of which, quick rant. Brainiac should not have been able to mind control Swamp Thing. That
was very odd to me. That felt very odd.
He is an avatar of a metaphysical force that Brainiac wouldn't be capable of understanding. I really don't think he should have been mind controlled by Brainiac. That's besides the point. Firestorm.
I think Swamp Thing should have been saved for DLC.
And just out of curiosity, who would you have replaced him with of the DLC characters? Red Hood?
Probably. I think that would, going from a business standpoint, I believe Red Hood was, the most requested character at that point.
Of the DC?
So
besides Beast Boy.
Yeah,
those guys weren't going to do Beast Boy, so of all of them, it was Red Hood and Starfire, I think, were the biggest requests.
Because, the Fighter Pack one made so much sense, and everyone pretty much predicted it, but, we all were super happy with it nonetheless. Red Hood, if they put him in the base roster, I think it would have easily sold the game to a few more people.
Yeah.
But he was the first DLC, and he came out like a month after the game launched, so it's not like people had to wait too long for the character. But
Unlike certain characters that got revealed for no frickin' reason. Thunderman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I loved the fact that they put Raiden in the game strictly because it was nice to see him actually have the strength of a god. But I would have done a one-time deal where Sub-Zero gets dropped and Raiden was in there instead of Sub-Zero. But we got them both.
Yeah. At least with Raiden, some of the people who, like, I'm not personally anti-guest, but, like, I can understand people not wanting both in the same game.
Exactly.
So I feel like them giving the Black Lightning Premier skin was a way to, like, kind of set out that fire a bit so that people would be happy regardless.
It didn't work out that well, to my memory, but that's besides the point. That's our 12. Those are our 12, because outside of, like, my only maybes are, like, Cyborg and Bane. All of the others I feel like are definite shoo-ins, because you gotta have, I guess, an evil king type character, and apparently Black Adam fits that bill for them, so...
Mm-hmm. I think Cyborg has, like, a more than likely chance of making it, not only just because of the Justice League movie, but also, like, Teen Titans Go and Doom Patrol being, like, very big shows with DC fans.
And Cyborg just being one of the most popular of the Titans, period. I mean, think about it. I mean, think about it. Can you name all 5 Titans and not have Cyborg in, like, the first 2 or 3, right?
Because, like, if you think Teen Titans, most of the time people will think either Robin or Cyborg.
Yeah, or Starfire if they lean a certain way. But, like, it's funny to me because the original roster for the Teen Titans were the 5 we know, or that most people know: Robin, Starfire, Raven, Cyborg, and Beast Boy. But also Wonder Girl and Speedy, and those 2 never show up in anything Teen Titans related, unless it's just whatever else they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Poor Wonder Girl. Poor Donna. She gets
shafted a lot in a lot of this.
Which is very unfortunate indeed. But quick preface I should probably also say before we continue with the video, we'll be trying to focus just on the launch roster type thing, because, I mean, DLC is going to be hard enough to predict as it is because of the factor of guest characters.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have a couple of ideas for guest characters for sure, because
we're also unsure of, like, how much DLC we'll be getting in this game, because, like, if it goes under a similar plan as MK11 to release DLC over, like, a couple years span, I'm hoping Injustice 3 does, like, a more longer lifespan.
Yeah. And,
like MK11.
Yeah, that leads me to a thing about that. I've always noticed an odd pattern with NetherRealm DLC release patterns in general. I mean, if we start from Mortal Kombat 9, they had 4 DLC characters. Then Injustice 1 had 6. Then MKX had 8. Injustice 2 technically had 10, if you count Darkseid. Which, I mean, yeah, by that logic, MKX technically had 9, which throws a bit of a monkey wrench into the operation. But still, they seem to be going up by 1 or 2 characters who end up being DLC per roster. So, at this point now, with Mortal Kombat 11, we line up perfectly with that pattern because we had 12 DLC characters. We had the 6-character Combat Pack 1, then we had the Aftermath DLC characters, then we had Combat Pack 2, so that makes it 12. So if they started, so with Injustice 3, there could be anywhere from 13 to 15 DLC characters. That's a lot of DLC!
Yeah.
That is an extraordinary amount of DLC. So don't expect a whole lot of DLC prediction, just more so what are our safe bets, right? And Premier Skins I think we should consider as well, just because I think the Premier Skin is a wonderful idea. I'm a little bit sad they didn't carry that over into
MK11. I definitely have some wish lists for Premier Skins.
Totally. I'm just sad that they never carried that over into Mortal Kombat 11 for whatever reason, but that'll be.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we kind of have it with, like, the movie skins and the DJ skin, even if they aren't all perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. I think there's a couple of brand new intros in there, because I don't remember Baraka ever calling Sonya dinner outside of the Bridget Wilson skin, but that's just me. Um, okay, so let's start with Injustice 1 returning characters that are not in our Big 12. I think of those. I'm just checking. Look at the Injustice 2 roster. I think outside of like the main 12 that we named, I don't think any of the Injustice 2 characters returned.
Like, I mostly focused with my Big 12 as, like, characters that were in both games.
Yeah,
I think, like, Supergirl and Black Canary are two characters that would fit into that group
absolutely.
going
I
forward.
totally agree with that. I'm just pulling up the roster now because I'm genuinely curious about that. Yeah, it's just there's 4. And Aquaman is 12. Yeah, so everybody else in Injustice 1, DLC or otherwise, is not in Injustice 2. So
And I can understand why, considering some of them are, like, smaller members of Superman's regime.
yeah, like I mean, I don't think anybody's exactly clamoring for Hawkgirl. I mean, besides me because I'm a big sucker for Hawkgirl, circa Justice League cartoon.
Like, I like Ares and I like Killer Frost, but I wasn't, like, sad that they didn't make Injustice 2.
Yeah, I'm personally of the mindset that I think they would probably want to include at least a few of them. And looking at the roster,
Oh, for sure.
at looking at the roster, I have 4 definite possibilities, and I'm going to add them to my document real quick.
Make sure.
Yeah, so
So I have, like, 5 definite ones I'd like to see return. Oh, no, 6, actually, now that I think about another one.
yeah,
And then 3 that are maybes.
I can respect that. I have my 4 that I think would I mostly base my predictions off of what I think is the most realistic, but a little bit of fan wishy because I try to be as realistic as possible because, you know, I don't want to disappoint. My returning for Injustice 1 are from 13 through 16 are Nightwing, Raven, Deathstroke, and Lex Luthor of those 12.
Okay, so if I have to choose 4, let me write down the exact 4.
Yeah.
So for the 4 I decided to choose, I decided to think about how what could be like a decent lore reason as for some of these characters coming back. Because
Okay.
a couple of them, 2 of them are dead, and 1 of them is retired. I chose Shazam, Deathstroke, Zatanna, and Lex Luthor.
Okay.
And
What brings Shazam and Lex Luthor back into the fold?
I'd like to think something similar to Green Arrow and Injustice 2, where they bring in another version of the character. But
Okay.
with Lex Luthor, I think it would be kind of a little complicated because they'd have to find a version of Lex Luthor that isn't outright villainous.
Or alternately, they could. Hopefully they implement this feature that I've been hoping that they implemented since Injustice 2, where you can choose different dialogue types based off of certain characters. So you could have asshole Superman, or you can have nice guy Superman. You know what I mean?
That would be really nice. I
With-
think it would make playing certain characters like Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Superman like actually pop.
I would have bothered to
decent
learn Wonder
voice
Woman
lines.
I would have bothered to learn Wonder Woman if she wasn't, you know, I'm a stab
Me.
Scarecrow because he insulted my boyfriend, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
The only time I played Wonder Woman in Injustice 2 was to grind her to level 20 when they had the Wonder Woman like gear pieces
Yeah.
available. I was like, oh, I gotta do this. I can't not do this.
Right. My picks are a little bit interesting in that again, Nightwing is both alive and dead, depending on which version you're talking about. And I want to specify Dick Grayson for Nightwing. And again, I know he's dead, that he's dead man, but multiverse shenanigans are a thing.
Yeah.
Raven is not dead. She is with Trigon at the minute. She can be brought back. Deathstroke, still alive, and Lex Luthor, similar shenanigans. We'd have to bring him back somehow, which, knowing Lex Luthor, he could have had a secret clone project or any number of things, but The fact that the Joker got to stick around, but Lex Luthor, Superman's biggest villain, gets shafted seemed a little bit weird to me.
Yeah. Like with Lex Luthor, I think they can do something to bring him back. For my other choices, Shazam, mostly because of the movie, I think a lot more interest is in Shazam than there was in 2013
Yeah.
when the original Injustice came out. And I think a very lighthearted character like Shazam could work well with people.
Absolutely, especially with the darker tone that is Injustice, right? I'm gonna do Cheetah, and then I'm just gonna throw in two more because Injustice 2's roster is larger than Injustice 1's. So, by the way, good shout out on Zatanna. I honestly kind of spaced that she was in Injustice 1, which is sad because I'm a big Zatanna fan.
It's very much a bias on my hand because Zatanna was not only my favorite character to play in Injustice 1, she's one of my favorite DC characters in general.
Have you read Black Canary and Zatanna Bloodspell, perchance?
I need to.
I own it if I own it, and maybe I could do story time or something. I don't know. And I think, yeah, there we go. So I typed in. I figured because Injustice 2's roster is larger than Injustice 1's, we can do 6 returning Injustice 2 characters.
Okay.
And my 6, which I prepped, are Supergirl, Black Canary, Poison Ivy, Cheetah, Starfire, and Red Hood.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out who my 6th would be real quick.
Do you want a picture of the roster to help you out, or are you okay?
Well, I did take some notes. Let's see.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's not going to be the friggin' TMNT again. That was a curveball if I'd ever seen one.
So I'm doing this mostly, this is like a real, like trying to think what would be realistic. I chose Supergirl, Black Canary, Cheetah, Black Manta, Red Hood, and Starfire. I feel bad kind of shafting Poison Ivy, but like, when there's only 6 and there's like a lot of really good characters in Injustice 2, it's kind of hard to determine.
And let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time that DC shafted Poison Ivy for anything. Let's be honest. I think your list is actually slightly more realistic because you shafted Poison Ivy, which hurts for me to say.
I picked like Black Manta, for example, just because not only is he just a very cool character visually, I think Aquaman should have had a villain of his in the base roster already.
Yeah, like, and it's not like pardon the pun, pardon the metaphor, but it's not like his pool of villains is exactly shallow. You got Ocean Master, Black Manta, Siren, a Trench representative of some kind.
And even if you don't want to pick like one of Aquaman's villains, I know there's quite a few people who want Mara to be playable.
Yeah, Mara with a Siren Premier skin would be pretty good, and I think that'll lead into our next. Not, we're not going to get into the new characters just yet because I want to postulate a question.
All right.
Okay. I have 3 pre-order bonus ideas based off of what direction the story could go. And I want to run by you those ideas to figure out what is the most likely. So I'm just gonna type them out real fast. And what was his name? Oh yeah. Okay. So the first I'm gonna throw this on so that the rest of the cast can see, so that people can see what I'm talking about. The pre-order bonus number 23 in my list is either the Anti-Monitor, Perpetua, or Necron. And for those not in the know, Perpetua is what's known as the first creator, kind of the all-mother of the DC multiverse, who looks like this. And I don't think, well, I imagine Mono knows what Perpetua looks like, but in case they don't, I have the picture ready for them.
I've actually have not heard of this character before, so this is a very interesting thing to figure out.
Yeah, Perpetua is a very new character. She only showed up a few years ago, like just after Injustice 2 came out, actually, and her whole deal was that she's the mother of all of the multiverses. She knows about the dark multiverse and all of these shenanigans. And, you know, for such a cool character concept and wicked design, hello, they shaft her, and they end up going with the Batman who laughs. Fucking hate that character.
Me too. I saw the Noob Saibot skin, and I was immediately disappointed.
And okay, I'm gonna, the dark metal multiverse shenanigans are not my favorite thing about DC at all. Oh great, evil Batman in various super flavors, yum. But I will admit, some of them are actually kind of clever. Like, the Red Death is a result of a Batman basically duct taping the Flash to the Batmobile and driving as fast as he can to try and save his multiverse, and then fusing with the Flash.
I love that.
That is pure comic hilarity. And I'm personally a big fan of The Drowned, because Aquawoman Brenda Wayne. I'm in. Why not? But, you know, the whole Barbados Batman Who Laughs thing, I'm a little sad that that managed to overshadow the all-mother of the universe. So, the reason why I have those three here is because I feel like it's only a matter of time before NetherRealm puts the final boss of a game as a pre-order bonus. And I'm not talking like Shao Kahn, NMK11, or Darkseid in Injustice 2. I mean, like, you know how you can play as Brainiac in Injustice 2? Something like that, but you would have to pre-order to be able to play as them early, I guess, or you could unlock them by beating the story mode. And I'm thinking there's 3 possible story arcs that we could do, or that they could do, and I want to know what you think is the most likely. Crisis on Infinite Earths, i.e. the Anti-Monitor, something original with Perpetua, or Blackest Night with Necron.
The Green Lantern fanboy in me wants to say Necron, but I think the most realistic like direction they could go is with the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah, I mean the whole multiverse is open to them now, and it only seems natural that they'd want to do their own Crisis on Infinite Earths. But
like, I think all 3 of these sound like really good ideas for characters, and honestly, I think like more Green Lantern representation in Injustice, the better.
Can we have more than 2 lanterns per game, please?
I mean, it doesn't help that, like, spoilers for later, like, I have 1 Lantern-related character for a newbie, and then Green Lantern, and that's it for the base roster.
No, and that I feel like that would be the pattern that they would go with, honestly, because that's the pattern that they've had for the last 2 games. They had Sinestro in Injustice 1, and then they had Atrocitus in Injustice 2. So for Injustice 3, they might pull, I don't know, they might pull Star Sapphire, they might pull Indigo 1, or Saint Walker, but, you know.
Walker would be a dream, but I don't think they would include him.
Yeah, because he's too much of a ray of sunshine. Anyway, now we get into the real juicy bits, which is to say the new characters. And I'm going to be bold, and let's see, we're at 23 now? Let's do 7 new characters in order to make a full 30 roster. But before I continue, what would be your choice for a pre-order bonus? Because I had Anti-Monitor, Perpetua, and Necron. So, like, if you had to narrow it down to 1... I
think if it's a character that's going to be involved in the story, then I would choose Anti-Monitor. But if it's going to be similar to Darkseid, where it's not involved in the story at all, then I think Necron could be a very fun choice.
Yeah.
But considering Shao Kahn is involved with MK11, I have a feeling the next pre-order bonus will also be involved with the main story.
Yeah, so Anti-Monitor feels like a safe bet. Maybe what they'll do is they'll do Anti-Monitor as a pre-order bonus, and Perpetua is the unplayable final boss, a la Chronica, but worse.
That would be really fun.
I say worse just because, oh dear lord. I mean, yeah, Chronica controls time. This woman makes universes! So, God, I feel like she would just slap you with galaxies and shit. That'd be terrifying.
I think it's just really funny to imagine a man with a bow and arrow and like a green hoodie just fighting this woman.
That's the beauty of fighting games. Throw logic out the window. A little bit. I mean, again, Street Fighter example, Zangief versus Akuma. I feel like dark magic is going to beat Russian wrestling and Mikhail Gorbachev representation, but that's just me.
Like, for example, in Street Fighter 3, you can have like a tiny Japanese girl in a karate uniform beat up a literal god.
Makoto
So, like,
versus Gil. Yep.
Yeah, it's the magic of fighting games. Like, any matchup is possible if you just like suspend your disbelief.
Absolutely. Okay, so new characters. We gotta round this out to 30. That's gonna be really fucking hard. Okay, I'm gonna be bold a little bit. Okay, so I got my new characters ready.
Okay, me too.
I'm gonna let you start this time.
Okay, so I chose Star Sapphire, Big Barda, John Constantine, Booster Gold, Red Tornado, and these last two are kind of like smaller characters, I guess, not in terms of like obscurity, but more they wouldn't be massively important. It's just like it was kind of hard to pick like 7.
Yeah.
Livewire and Killer Croc.
Okay, first off, I love that we only have 2 duplicates across the board.
Oh, nice. So I'm assuming, who did you choose?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the duplicates are Star Sapphire and Livewire.
All right.
Right, so I'm gonna do this, and then... and the other characters that I don't have, because I feel really weird for not including a proper Green Lantern, is Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, Batwoman, Static Shock, Parasite, and Mr. Freeze. I'm going to make the bold call and say Mr. Freeze gets bumped up from Premier Skin to proper character.
Alright.
And I think Jessica Cruz has been getting a lot of love lately, both in the comics and she was in a couple of animated movies, if I remember right, or was it just the one?
Yeah, she was in, I forgot what it was called, but she was in one of the Justice League animated movies.
Yeah, Justice League versus the Fatal Five or something like that.
And she's also in the DC Superhero Girls TV show.
Yeah, so Jessica Cruz is getting a lot of popularity, and I think it would be really cool if there's this whole side plot where Hal is like passing the torch on to Jessica Cruz to protect Earth while he's off gallivanting around trying to redeem himself across the galaxy and some shit. I put Static Shock here because my man's got snubbed twice.
It's so hard because like there's 2 characters I want that have very similar like concepts and like their powers.
Yeah.
And I know they could be different. I'm just like concerned if people would be okay with 2 characters of it. Like, okay, they have Superman and Supergirl. They've done Sub-Zero and Captain Cold. I'm just hoping that if NetherRealm did actually have Livewire and Static Shock in the exact same roster,
that they would use the electric powers differently?
Mm-hmm.
Well, fortunately...
Like I want them to...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, what's that? Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just about to say, the nice thing is that when you control electricity, you, by extension, scientifically speaking, control magnetism. And I know, science in a comic book thing, but genuinely speaking, you can have Static Shock be more of a magnetic use of electrical superpowers, and Livewire being the more traditional zippy-zappy type.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I just like to think about how these 2 characters would look aesthetically with like customization and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some really cool like punk rock looks you could give Livewire.
And Static Shock having customizable discs that he floats around on.
Oh yes, that would be amazing.
Speaking of Static Shock, I need to show everybody this, and I don't know if you know this, but Static Shock was actually playable in an Injustice game.
Yeah, he was in the mobile version, right?
Yeah, he was in the mobile version, and he's actually a really good card. Immune to power drain, he gains power by blocking. Man's had a lot going for him, and he had a unique rig and unique special attack animations. And
Killer Croc had the same treatment too, which is why I'm so upset that he wasn't in Injustice 2.
Yeah, I know. And speaking on that, for a second, the fact that they gave him an original moveset around the time that Injustice 2 was like getting character reveals and shit. I'm just posting this in the chat. Like, I totally thought that Killer Croc was going to be in. They gave him a new super move and everything. Just like with Static Shock, which, by the way, I'm not totally sure how I feel about the blue unitard
Yeah, I'm not
thing.
the biggest fan of the look. There was some concept art I saw like years ago. Let me send it.
Yeah, and this is this was the first example of Injustice 2 concept art for characters that we would never see. Yeah, this with the hat, and this looks great.
It does.
Especially with the gear options that you can have, like arms, different bracers and things, different hats and glasses and head styles, torso things and pants and shoes, and then your unique thing is the disc that you ride on. That would have been sweet. And then we had all the half a dozen others that showed up, like Cersei and John Constantine. Which, by the way, props to you for picking John Constantine. I love it.
I know that might be like a potential bold choice because I know Constantine isn't intended to be like this big superhero character. But I just think it would be really fun to try to imagine a move list for him.
Well,
that's another reason I brought back Zatanna, because I think it'd be fun to have those two have like some witty banter.
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that we've seen John Constantine in a lot of DC stuff lately. He was in I feel like he was in a trilogy of DC animated movies that were part of a story together. He
was in Justice League Dark and the sequel Apocalypse War. He was one of the main characters in that movie because it was mostly focusing on him, Raven, and I believe Superman, from what I heard.
Yeah,
So
I've seen
it.
It is a messed up movie, by the way. If you're not ready for it, man, they have MK9 level fatalities in this. It's nasty sometimes, but. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It was hard to watch the Batman torture scene, but that's besides the point. Oops, there goes my light. And he was also in the CW universe in various shows. So
very interesting history too, because
because he was a Vertigo
show was kind of its own thing, and then it got canceled, and then he had an animated movie or miniseries, I should say,
which became a movie.
What's that?
It became a movie because they fused all the episodes into one thing, just like they did with Deathstroke.
I still need to get that. Knights and Dragons, I think.
It's it's on YouTube actually. You can rent it for like $5, I think. Just rent it.
Nice.
Just rent it and watch it. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that YouTube actually offers rentals for movies and buying movies as well if you really wanted to.
And now they have he's on Heroes of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably been on some other guide. I don't keep up with the CW because I'm personally not a fan. I just know that there's like a lot of cross.
And Constantine was the poster boy for Vertigo back in the day. Both him and Sandman, which actually leads me to some considerations for the future. But for now, why don't we talk guests? And we're just going to do two because I feel like I know what our two are going to be. I'm just going to type them out. He-Man and a Mortal Kombat guest?
I wrote down He-Man and the Powerpuff Girls. All three is like one character similar to the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's right, because which, by the way, MK11 is weird for this. They usually do have a conglomerate character as DLC, don't they? So I'm gonna go Power Rangers for this one. For that sort of conglomerate character concept, but I mean, the Powerpuff Girls is both a bold and not totally unreasonable choice, I don't think.
I just think it'd be really fun if you took like teenaged versions of the characters and you kind of had like some sort of gear piece plopped throughout. Maybe it's like a headband or something. And I know all three of them have their own unique powers for the most part. I just think it'd be just a really funny crossover.
And I mean, again, if you treat them like the TMNT, the TMNT really only shared about 70% of their normals and maybe one special move. Everything else was new kit. Basically, anything with the weapons was a new animation. So,
because I know a lot of people are more or less requesting, I guess, edgier comic book characters like Rorschach and a character I personally hope isn't in this game at all, Homelander from The Boys. I, on the other hand, went with more lighthearted characters for the most part. Like, Man also wrote down Liu Kang and Katana. for like Mortal Kombat characters.
Okay.
I also wrote the Power Rangers, and I also wrote Freakazoid.
Which,
Just
by the way,
because-
I remember you were telling me about Freakazoid being in Injustice, and I would really love that, especially if he somehow managed to get an Animaniacs reference in there. You know he fucking would!
I just think it'd be funny just to have like a fourth wall breaking character.
And
then
on that topic of a fourth...
in general.
On the topic of a fourth wall breaking character, I went with, my pick for an MK guess, I actually went with Johnny Cage.
That would actually be really fun to see. I'd like to see how he would be reimagined in like a comic book style,
Absolutely.
similar to like the actual 3MK characters.
And speaking of Johnny Cage, did you know that he actually guest starred in a separate NetherRealm property that isn't either Injustice or Mortal Kombat?
Wasn't he in a WWE game?
Yes, he fucking was. He was in WWE Immortals, which shut down a couple years ago, unfortunately. Which, by the way, that's the only NetherRealm game besides Arkham City Lockdown, which had a Kano secret boss, by the way, that got shut down. So yeah, you can have Batman versus Kano in the Arkhamverse, which that seemed like a perfect fit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, yeah. So Johnny Cage guest starring in Injustice would be perfect for the wisecracking, fourth wall breaking movie star character, and 2 would put him on par with Raiden, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero for having the most diverse guest character portfolio.
It would be really interesting to see them go from like our 2 poster boys to a mainstay, and I guess Johnny is technically a mainstay.
Yeah.
He just isn't like as big of a face of Mortal Kombat as Raiden, I feel like.
No, he is
So
not.
like, so going to Johnny would be very interesting. I wrote Liu Kang and Katana just because I personally would love to see how those characters would get reimagined. I think a character that purely uses mostly martial arts, similar to Black Canary, would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Another character I wrote for a potential movie was Midnighter, but since he's on the more obscure side for the most part, I don't think he would have a bigger chance.
Well, to be
But
fair, they usually try and do at least 1 or 2 out there characters. Your Swamp Things, your Grundys, your... I know there's other examples out there.
I'd say like Enchantress, Killer Frost.
Well, Enchantress had the benefit of the Suicide Squad movie. Killer Frost didn't have fucking anything.
is like another character, like 2 characters I'd love to see come back, but I just don't think they will. Or like Martian Manhunter and Enchantress.
They just added Martian Manhunter into Injustice 2 Mobile too, so that's
Oh.
just based on the
Or
timing.
maybe there is some hope.
Yeah, just based on the timing, I want to keep an eye on that because he was also in Supergirl, so there's the chance.
And I just remembered that Enchantress was put in the game earlier this year, and apparently she had an appearance in the CW like
Really?
earlier this year.
I did not know that. Well, you could tell based off of the roster, based off the Injustice 2 roster. I'm just going to open that real quick. Yeah. Just based off of the roster, you can tell there's a lot of CW or a bit of a stretch CW influences in here. Like you have Supergirl, who got her own TV show. Flash, mainstay aside, has much more villains because he had 2 premier skins in Jay Garrick and Reverse Flash. He had Gorilla Grodd and Captain Cold show up. Dr. Fate, I would argue, is a CW thing, mostly because his helmet shows up in a Constantine episode, I believe. Firestorm was in Legends of Tomorrow.
I'd say Adam was also a very big influence from the CW.
Yeah.
Like aside from it being Ryan Choi instead of Ray Palmer,
They probably-
I think his inclusion was supposed to be like a nod to how big Heroes of Tomorrow is.
Well, yeah,
I think
because
I'm getting that title
they revealed him earlier than both of the other Fighter Pack 3 characters, specifically during a CW crossover event. So
It's Legends of Tomorrow. I was getting the title wrong, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I forgot that they revealed Adam earlier than the rest of the.
which was
third pack.
very
I just
cool.
remembered.
I'm personally a sucker for Adam. I love Ryan. He's good. I also love that they kept his voice actor for Liu Kang and Fujin in MK11.
I think it's really funny that Like, I don't know if this was like something that they intentionally put in Injustice 2, but Adam has an intro with Vixen where he
Jackie
compares
and
them to
Takeda.
Jackie and Takeda. And Jackie's voice actress, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, I was going to say Megalyn, voices Jackie in MK11 too. And I just think that was, like, they either put that in because they knew she was going to voice her, or they just kind of threw that in as like a little gag.
Oh, wow.
Either way, I just think that's just
Jesus,
really
yeah.
funny.
For those not in the know, this is the name of the actress, Megalyn Echikunwoke. Ma'am, if I get your name wrong, I apologize, but I'm bold enough to try. I also love that Power Girl voices Frost, and Atrocitus voices Shao Kahn and Cyrax in this game.
Black Canary is Shiva.
Really?
Yeah, Vanessa Marshall is Shiva.
Get the hell out of here! They either must have pitch shifted her voice, or
Oh, they definitely pitch shifted the voice.
I was gonna say they either pitch shifted or she managed to get deeper than I expected. Because good lord, I had no idea.
And then Starfire is Katana Melina.
Yep.
Trying to think of who else.
Ron Yuan TV star was Scorpion, so he was actually the very first TV star that became an MK character, although he was supposed to be Scorpion in Mortal Kombat X Generations before that fell through the cracks.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was supposed to be Hanzo Hasashi in Mortal Kombat X Generations, but that web series fell through the
I think it was the guy who was playing the main character in the MK movie. I think he was supposed to be Kung Jin in that show. Either him no, wait, I'm thinking of a different actor.
Yeah.
Joe just played him as Sub-Zero. Who's the guy playing Louis Tan? Okay. He was supposed to be in that Mortal Kombat X Generation show. I think it was as Kung Jin.
Yeah. And then that didn't end up working. Yeah.
Just in short, I think it's really funny how a lot of this ultimately comes back around with, like, the casting.
Right, and I personally find it really funny because, I mean, obviously they're keeping character voices and, like, voice actors they really like around. Like, again, Sarah Cravens as Frost, also voicing Power Girl, is fantastic. And then you get really weird ones like or slightly weirder ones like Jennifer Hale was Killer Frost in Injustice 1, and then she comes back as Kronika. And then where the hell did they go? And then, Steve Bloom was Sub-Zero since MKX. See, I'm just trying to think of who else there was, who could potentially stick around. I feel like Beata Pozniak could be fun to stick around, the voice actress for Scarlet.
I hope so. She was, like, I love when, like, this game hires lesser-known voice actors.
Alongside big talent, like, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for Phil,
really
I was looking for
Vita.
Phil Lamar. Aquaman became Kotal Khan, from Injustice 1 to MKX. That was an example I was thinking of.
Like, Phil Lamar and Richard Ankar are, like, staples for NetherRealm games, I feel like.
Yeah, and, like, Patrick Seitz was for the longest time, which is why I was so surprised that they dropped him. I never bought into the rumors that Kevin Conroy was voicing Scorpion for a second, but, you know.
Oh yeah, that was a very silly rumor, because I remember that was like the same leak that brought up the Dream Goddess and Kano's kid.
Yeah, which...
That I felt like very odd.
Would have been very cool to see, but unfortunately was not meant to be.
Yeah.
But besides that, it was weird, like, MK11 also had, like, multiple really bad leaks. I think I want to talk about some other time, like, the amount, we thought Cyrax and MK9 was the leaky bone. No, that was MK11.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like there's like all these legitimate leaks, and there's like I feel like every single week there's like a new fake leak that just gets worse than the one you read last week. It's ridiculousness.
We do not bring up Kitana turning into Melina and becoming Dagon's side piece. We do not bring that up.
That was so bad.
That was awful. And horrendous. But yeah, that's as far as like the roster. Like I'm comfortable predicting. That's about as far as I'm willing to go. However, I think we should do an honorable mention slash fan wish list, and we'll do a top 10 of those. I think, or top 10 of those. Right. So my honorable slash fan picks. I got 2 Vertigo characters here that I think would be really fun. One of them is John Constantine, because I miss my Matt Ryan voiced boy. Sandman, i.e. of the Endless. If, for those who don't know, the Endless were originally a separate sort of like mega pantheon above gods, above the elder gods and all of that, and they were like 7 entities that comprised of different sentient concepts. So there was destruction and despair, and there were 7 of them, but I only remember 4 of them. Nope, I remember 5 now. Destruction, despair, delirium, death, who I do not want to have in a fighting game. She is too much of a sweetheart. I don't want her getting hurt. And the main Endless slash the most famous one, Sandman, a.k.a. Dream, a.k.a. Morpheus. I think a sleep-based character, kind of like Freddy, but taken to the extreme. A dream-based character would be very, very cool to see. Just because, let shit run wild, why not? And then Beast Boy, Solivar, not Gorilla Grodd, Solivar, Cassandra Cain Batgirl, Bluebird, stealing another one of yours, Big Barda, but because I also want to throw in Mr. Miracle.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, and then Jonah Hex, and then here's my ultimate wild card. Nobody's going to guess, nobody's going to expect, nobody's going to request except for me just because it's such a trolly pick. Bugs Bunny.
Oh my gosh.
Look,
oh, I can see the hilarity already.
Not.
Oh God, how would he look? Like, how realistic?
No, we do not do realistic. We take the 3D model from Looney Tunes Worlds of Mayhem and slap it into Injustice 2 or Injustice 3. Straight up. And again, a lot of I can just imagine the uproar. Why is Bugs Bunny in this teen-rated fighting game? He was in Space Jam. Okay? And man's had some questionable jokes in his day. Because of how old Bugs Bunny is as a character, some of the jokes that he's pulled would not fly today. So you could absolutely have him in a darker atmosphere, just being Bugs fucking Bunny, because why not? And here's the kicker about Bugs Bunny being above the more out there picks like the Powerpuff Girls and the Power Rangers. You don't have to legally fight for him. He is a Warner Brothers property, just like DC and just like NetherRealm. All NetherRealm would have to do is be like, are we going to do Bugs Bunny? Let's do Bugs Bunny. Ask Warner Brothers really nicely if they can, and there you go.
I can just imagine the angry tweet replies now. Ed Boon just tweets anything, and someone is just like, "We wanted Rorschach and Homelander, not Bugs Bunny." And then proceeds to
first
Bugs
off,
Bunny
I like
being a top tier.
Yeah, I like Rorschach, but fuck Homelander. If we're gonna have anybody from The Boys as representation, which is not a bad idea, I'm not gonna shut down The Boys getting representation because why not? But get Gerard Butler's character in there, at the very least. Not a Homelander.
I'm personally not a fan of The Boys, but with.
I'm not either. But if we're going to accept The Boys. And I learned to like Rambo, so I could learn to like at least one Boys character, not fucking Homelander. Put the baby in, for all I care.
And here's somewhat of a hot take regarding Watchmen characters. I personally don't want them, but if I absolutely have to pick one, I want some form, some method, somehow that Dr. Manhattan is playable.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
Dr.
that character
Manhattan
is-
would be the best fit power-wise. But the tricky thing is that, I forget, Alan Moore is dead, right?
Is he? I could have sworn he was still...
He's probably still alive, but given how old he is, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, he's still alive.
Yeah,
He's
he
in
is.
his late 60s.
Oh, wow, he's 67? I honestly thought he was 75. I honestly thought he was 75 in some of the pictures that I was looking at here. And I'm going to have to check out this Twilight of the Superheroes idea that just popped up into my thing. Ooh, that sounds very interesting.
Like the thing with Dr. Manhattan that I could understand being an issue is that first off, the man is extremely powerful, like
Obscenely.
Extremely, he would have to be toned down. And second, the man is naked, so they're gonna have to figure out something around that.
Well, it's a relatively easy fix. Just don't model it, because remember, he just takes that blue form just because he wants to, right? So.
Mm-hmm. True.
But I feel like
it.
if any game they were gonna save the nudity for, they would probably save it for Mortal Kombat because it's already rated M.
Yeah.
Which personally I hope they don't do, but I mean, wouldn't put it past the writers every once in a while.
Yeah.
leave the sex scene quick time events to the old God of War games, please.
Literally, we don't need to pander to those types of people.
Not anymore. But those are my honorable fan picks, John Constantine and all of them, and Bugs Bunny, just because it would be so fucking funny. Or Daffy Duck, or any Looney Tunes character.
Any of them. Oh god, just imagine if they did include Bugs and they throw in a reference to Lunatics Unleashed, of all things.
Fuck off! I love Lunatics Unleashed, unironically. It's terrible, but I love it.
I've never seen it. I just know people make fun of it just for it being
because it was like
really
an edgy superhero Looney Tunes show. It was like the Looney Tunes trying to be Justice League. It was weird, but I liked it.
That's why I find it somewhat endearing. Like, I've never watched it, but just the concept alone, I can't help but find it charming that Warner Brothers decided to try that.
And I mean, it lasted 2 seasons. Take that for what you will.
There was some fans, at the time.
Yeah, there was. Myself included. Okay, what about you then? What are your honorable / fan picks? Go nuts! What do you got?
So this is more just okay, if I could go nuts, let me put my 10th character.
And that 10th character, by the way, was?
I'll get to him in just a moment. So for honorable mentions, just going crazy, Etrigan, Midnighter, Static Shock, Silver Banshee as her own character. I would settle for her as a Black Canary Premier skin, but at the same time, I think it'd be really cool to see her as her own character if they, literally just went full Sindel, but in Injustice. Larfleeze, Enchantress, Poison Ivy, and Atrocitus as returning characters. Bizarro as his own character with his own moveset. I liked what they did, how they changed him up a bit in his Premier skin. I just think it'd be really funny to have Bizarro as his own character.
Almost make him sloppier. You know what I mean?
It's like a joke character in a sense. The Dan to Superman's Ryu. Yeah. And then, because this is a huge personal bias, if I could personally have this character come back, I would. I would love if Hellboy had another shot in Injustice.
Well, I know you are a colossal Hellboy fan. And you know what? Just to be a dick, I'll be right back. I'm grabbing my Hellboy books. Hold on. Explain the Hellboy thing while I'm grabbing books.
So, with Hellboy, he was a character that I was very much hoping for in Injustice 2, and then he actually came out. He was the big highlight for Fighter Pack 2 for me, and the funny thing is, I wasn't even as big of a Hellboy fan at the time, and it took until late 2019 when I really started getting into the character and just everything about him that I went back to Injustice 2, and he was the first character that I completely grinded through for the Legendary multiverse. And the sad thing is, Green Arrow is my actual main character in Injustice 2. Hellboy managed to get my Legendary unlocked first before him. Welcome back.
Sorry, I had to go off because I went on a real big Hellboy craze. I really only read one of these books yet, and I really want to. But I got the Seed of Destruction omnibus, the Strange Places omnibus, which is what I'm about to start. I know I have another number 2, but I think that was just weird side stories. Hellboy: The Complete Short Stories Volume 2. That's the other one. So I'm missing Volume 1, I guess. Omnibus Volume 3, The Wild Hunt, and Hellboy in Hell Volume 4.
I'm trying to get my hands on more of the comics, at least like the big collections. I have...
Mike Mignola's art, by the way, I'm going to show it for the audience.
It is so good.
Fucking gorgeous. I like that they tried to emulate that style in Injustice 2 as well. Like, big ups for that.
Oh, for sure. Like, I understand people's disappointment that he didn't resemble Ron Perlman or even have Ron Perlman as the voice, but I still think how he looked and sounded was amazing.
I mean, you don't necessarily need... I mean, Ron Perlman is almost by default the Hellboy, but I feel like, personally, that you could try for other Ron Perlman types. Like, honestly, a Kevin Michael Richardson voicing Hellboy. That's the first one.
That would be great.
That's the first. He's the first guy that comes to my mind is KMR. Keith David.
If I wanted Ron Perlman in another Realm game, I would love to see him return to be Deathstroke.
Oh, that's an idea. He was Batman actually in one DC game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I mean I would be all over that. Right, so those are my honorable picks. Now, I think there's one more category we can cover off the top of my head, unless you want to take a stab at guessing DC DLC, but that seems too risky. And that is...
My only honorable mentions that I think could realistically be DLC are Static Shock and Etrigan.
Yeah.
Because I don't see either character being put into a base roster, but I could see Etrigan as a DLC character.
I would love Etrigan to be in. Consider what they did with Enchantress, right? Like, you can even have intros where he starts out as Jason Blood, and then he just turns into Etrigan.
That would be amazing. That would be so amazing. And, like, the intros where he speaks twice, you could have him rhyme.
Yeah. Go on. That would be the one where he speaks once, where camera's on him first. Gone, the form of man. Rise the demon, Etrigan! And then all of that good shit. I would be in. Etrigan would be... And just having him, Constantine, and Zatanna on the same roster would just be a dream for me. You know what? You could do Injustice Dark. I think would be really fucking cool.
Just have all these more demonic and magical-based characters.
And then have Trigon as the final boss.
Yes, just put in like Raven and Dr. Fate and Enchantress as like the other magical themed characters.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, again, within the way Injustice 2 ends, I mean, they went with the bad ending in the comics, so I'm assuming they'll go with the good ending for the game itself. I hope they don't go with the bad ending, because I don't like the bad ending that much. But you have now 4 possible ideas. You could have Trigon trying his hand at taking over the world since Superman's gone. Necron, i.e. Blackest Night, which could doubly explain how Joker comes back. He's a Black Lantern now. Perpetua, if you want to go original, having Perpetua as the big bad, which would be nice, because poor woman got shafted by an edgy Batman with a Joker smile 6 months after her debut. And the Anti-Monitor for Crisis on Infinite Earths. But the only thing I can suspect now is that unless we want to try to crack a DLC or just other possibilities for MK guests or something, we have Premier skins that we could do.
Premier skins would be fun. With Green Lantern, there's just so much you could do. And the thing is, like, I love Green Lantern. It's just Hal Jordan is far from my favorite.
Yeah. So imagine if they pulled a Flash and they had at least 2 and potentially 4 or 5 if they wanted to do cross-sex skins, because I don't know. I get the hitbox issues. Allow your women to be 5'11", goddammit! I'm still
Like,
pissed off that Cetrion is shorter than Sub-Zero, much less Raiden.
Pretty much all the women have like the same, except for Shiva, have like the same height and body type.
They have two different body types. They have busty and they have not busty. That's it.
That's literally it. And then like Shiva's the only one that isn't one of those two.
And she's Shokan, so that's cheating.
She's still not that tall, like compared to the rest of the cast.
Yes, she at least looks at Kotal in the eye, but I feel like she should be at least as tall as fucking Shao Kahn, if not taller. And in my headcanon here, I know we're talking about headcanons in the video, but headcanon, I think Cetrion should have been 7'8".
That would have been interesting.
Hello,
I think
Elder Goddess!
literally.
If Raiden, a normal god, is 7 feet tall, Cetrion should have been at least 8 inches taller, maybe even a full-blown foot, and then have her brother Shinnok be 8'2", or something ridiculous like that. If Street Fighter can get this shit right, you guys can, NetherRealm!
Should have been around Geras' height, honestly.
Yeah, I can...
At least.
Yeah. I mean, if Street Fighter V can have the 8-foot-tall Abigail in a fighting game, then you could have done different heights of it. I'm tired of ranting, but that's... Rant aside, that leads actually to our rule for premier skins. We're allowing cross-sex premier skins. Because I feel like after they kind of caught a bit of a snafu with not doing it in Injustice 2, I feel like they would at least try, you know?
Yeah.
Let's do 10. And we're allowing up to 2 per character, if that makes any sense. So,
okay.
So like how Flash has 2, we can have 2 for Flash, and I already have 1 for the Joker. All right, I got my premier skins ready.
Okay, me too.
All right, then you start, since you seem to have some good material going.
Okay, so I chose Flashpoint Thomas Wayne for Batman.
Nice.
Jessica Cruz and Alan Scott for Green Lantern.
Alan Scott, nice.
Wonder Woman, I didn't want to put 2 because I had a lot of ideas, so I wrote Nubia or Donna Troy.
Ooh.
Silver Banshee for Black Canary if she isn't her own character.
Gives her kind of a chance to show up.
If Silver Banshee is her own character, then Nubia and Donna Troy can be 2 separate.
Yeah.
Reverse Flash and Jay Garrick come back for Flash. Green Lantern, I would have thrown in John Stewart, but he's probably going to happen no matter what, and I wanted to think about others. This one's going to be a little weirder. King Shark for Killer Croc. I wonder if that could potentially be possible.
Yeah, I mean, it could. Because when you think about it, I mean, King Shark has more powers than Killer Croc, but being big, animalistic, grappler-based characters, I think that could actually work out rather well.
Arsenal for Green Arrow.
Nice.
And for my trolley pick, Punchline for Harley Quinn.
Oh, that would be disgusting! I love it. However, we have Punchline also as I also have Punchline as a premier skin. She was the very first one I came up with because, for God's sakes, we know Punchline is going to be in this game. That woman is being forced everywhere, but I'm having her as a premier skin for the Joker.
That could work.
Because A, it's less trolly. I mean, I love the idea of it being super trolly, but B, here's the thing, it fits her more because Punchline is known for having a switchblade, which Joker uses. So I feel like if we're going to pick a character that fits that regard, I think Joker would be the better, more accurate fit. But the Harley Quinn one, I like that for the trolley factor.
It's like what's really funny is that like I want to like Punchline more as a concept because like I'm here for more villainesses in DC. It's just her entire character is kind of summarized by her rivalry with Harley, and I want her to be more her own thing.
Yeah.
And here I am making her a Harley premier skin.
So it's more of a troll for yourself than anything. I forget. Speedy grows up into Arsenal, right?
I believe so. I was trying to remember the name of...
Yeah. Because I know it's Roy Harper for both of them, so I'm pretty sure that's how it goes down. But yeah, I went with Speedy.
Pretty much just Roy Harper.
Yeah, we were both in agreement with Roy Harper because that boy needs some love.
Especially since like Red Hood and the Arsenal, or Red Hood and that one comic line.
The Outlaws.
It was him, the Outlaws. I almost said Arsenals. Red Hood, Starfire, and Arsenal, or just Roy Harper, I should say. And seeing, like, it was almost an Outlaws pack. If you just replaced Sub-Zero with Roy, you would have had that trio as a DLC pack.
That would have been nice. Granted, I don't like Outlaws for various reasons. I mean, but it has its moments. I'll say that. I'm actually gonna go bold and say a little bit bold and say Power Girl comes back for Supergirl. I feel like that's just too good of an opportunity to miss. And plus, Sarah Craven is fantastic as Power Girl. So here's one. Because I have Jessica Cruz as the main Green Lantern, I'm going to have her partner Simon Boz as a premier skin.
That would be very cool, too.
It is Boz, right? My Arabic is awful.
I'm not completely sure, but I just think it's awesome to see Simon and stuff.
Right. And I mean, you know their intros are going to be stupid cute, just because they're such good friends. Here's my Bizarro take, literally. Because if you remember, Bizarro... he had fire breath that would stun instead of a freeze breath, right? And they kind of made his powers reverse because it was really cool. I kind of want them to try Chemo for Mr. Freeze.
That would actually be really interesting.
Because I like Mr. Freeze as the big Mr. Freeze. Arkham City Mr. Freeze. The giant walking death refrigerator Mr. Freeze. Not... the fact that they made Mr. Freeze a premier skin for Captain Cold, which I took because it was good, but I would have infinitely preferred it if he was a big body character inside of that giant mechanized suit like Lex Luthor. So, yeah, Chemo for Mr. Freeze being about that size would be perfect for that, I think. And because Black Canary is Dinah Lance in the Justice universe, I want Dinah Drake, which I think is the name of her mother. I can never fucking figure out how the Dinah Laurel Drake Lance thing fucking works, but you know.
Yeah, it's very confusing, and I wish they didn't do that.
it hurts me a lot, but yeah, Dinah Drake, i.e. Canary's Dinah Lance's mom, so that we have a Jay Garrick scenario where we have a Golden Age Black Canary. As much as I would also really like Wildcat, that would be really fun to see too.
Very much. Oh wow. That's kind of also why I picked Alan Scott, just because, like, I love Jay Garrick and Justice Joe. I was not a Flash pro.
Sorry?
I didn't play Flash, but, like, if I did, I would probably almost always use the Jay Garrick costume, because I just love the intros so much.
Right? You know what's funny about that? It's a thing I've noticed whenever there's a game that has either or, but Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey are married. Full stop married, right? And I think
usually they're almost always on the same projects.
Yeah.
Whenever there's like a project of Laura Bailey, Travis is almost always in it too.
Yeah, I mean, she was Supergirl in Injustice 2, so he's Jay Garrick in Injustice 2. In Spider-Man for PS4, she was Mary Jane, so he's the Kingpin. You know? He's Guile, she's Chun-Li. It just works. Then we have Jay Garrick for the Flash, speak of the devil. But no Reverse Flash. Just because I feel like I kind of want to pull back a little bit from the Flash representation just a touch. I
can understand that.
Right? Ryan Wilder for Batwoman, because again, original characters can become big things if they're given the right push. Just look at Harley Quinn. That's like my go-to example. Because she was created for the animated series. And
like the more like obscure or newer characters in like this big budget fighting game, the better. Because that's why I'm happy that like Enchantress was in Injustice 2. Like yeah, she was there to promote the movie, but she's not a very popular character, and people loved her in that game, or at least like people in my specific like DC circles for the most part loved her in that game.
Yeah, you're not alone. About, like, a lot of people I know loved Enchantress as well. She was kooky and weird and freaky, and it was just good.
Like I want more of that.
Absolutely. And it's nice that NetherRealm, NetherRealm does play it safe generally, but it's nice that NetherRealm at least dips their toes into the obscure every once in a while with their picks. Like, if you told me Swamp Thing was going to be in Injustice 2, I wouldn't have believed you until I saw the trailer.
Yeah, because, like, I remember thinking, oh, I don't think they're going to add Swamp Thing. I feel like Poison Ivy is so much more requested, and
then they do both!
Are in the same game.
And then they do both, and then now they have the whole plant character trope, which is a very nice trope to try and do, because not too many fighting game characters use them. I also have an evil Batman, but I don't have Thomas Wayne Batman. I have a Crime Syndicate representative.
Ooh.
Owlman,
yeah,
baby.
Right, Owlman.
Owlman, baby. And
I didn't think of that.
I mean, I would love just a Crime Syndicate skin pack, so like Grid and Superwoman and Ultraman and Owlman. But if I had to pick one, I'm going with Owlman because Owlman in Justice League Crisis on Two Earths is just fantastic. Hold on a sec. Am I still? Yeah, I am. So, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. If you've not seen this movie, I highly recommend it. It is really good, really funny. But here's the kicker. James Woods voices Owlman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, James Woods is Owlman. And I personally think it would be really cool if they got James Woods back for Owlman, because he did such a good job. They did such a good job with him. I'd be behind him coming back. And apparently there was supposed to be a sequel. Oh, there was a sequel in Justice League Doom, right? Which was also pretty good. But yeah, man, I would like. Obviously, NetherRealm is willing to do celebrity voice casts. I mean, we got Ronda Rousey as Sonya, and Sylvester Stallone and Peter Weller reprising their respective guest characters, and Keith David as well. So, being a big enough budget, I would not be surprised if they decided, you know what? Let's try to get some bigger actors that have not been in work for a little while. And if they got James Woods, please make him Owlman.
Please.
Just because it would be funny, just to hear him say, it doesn't matter. Just the way he says it is so good. And then my number 53 is an Aquaman premiere skin.
Ooh.
Ocean Master.
Oh, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because they're both blonde boys who fight with tridents and command sea life. Perfect fit.
Plus, I believe they are siblings.
Yes, they're half-brothers, actually.
So that works even more.
Half-brothers by virtue of their mother. Yeah, that is 53 different character concepts that we had to come up with. Granted, Mono and I shared a lot of them, but we also had our unique picks because with a property as large, old, and expansive as the DC universe, multiverse I should say, really, the sky's the limit. Mara, Siren, Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, Oracle!
There's just so much you can pick, because, like, again, with Mortal Kombat, it's like a smaller playing field, and then again, like, a third of that playing field is almost always unlikely. Like, you can't go into a game expecting, like, Suhao or Mocap or, like, Me or Cobra to make it in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. Like, considering how many characters they have made in the last almost 30 years, there's over 80 original characters in the Mortal Kombat universe. Those are just the ones that are playable. I'm not counting Harumi or Satoshi or Baron Raylan from the Conquest TV show or Queen Silothan, who was teased in Mortal Kombat 11. You have
It's just a way to pick from.
Yeah, you have your options. And by the way, I hope they run with the Queen Silothan idea. A Zaterran queen who can command reptiles to attack you? That sounds fucking cool!
Really cool if Mortal Kombat introduced a character who like how like a minion character works, like someone who can summon like
Yeah, like
I'm surprised Mortal Kombat hasn't like fully done Quan Chi kind of does stuff like that in
Well,
MKS.
he does spell circles,
Like,
right?
just imagine... Yeah. Like imagine a character that can just, or like monsters or something to fight in
Enchantress?
combat.
Like Enchantress as a starting point, because that's literally what her trait is.
Yeah.
But
Like, think of like that, but like...
or just fuck it, just do a puppet fighter, like in anime games. Like I can like Relius Clover and his dad, Relius Clover and his son Carl are both puppet characters from Blaze Blue.
It would just be... There's a lot of potential for like both Mortal Kombat and Injustice and the gameplay design.
Yeah, and what's what's cool is that while they play it safe for the most part, they always try something new every once in a while. Plant characters in Injustice 2. Again in Injustice 2, a zoning grappler. What other grappler do you know of that can grab somebody from virtually full screen? Or time manipulation with Gearus, or just willing to do a whole new property, a whole new fighting game when the only fighting game they did was Mortal Kombat, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because Rampage wasn't a fighting game per se. But yeah, so that's gonna wrap this up. That's 83 minutes of recording, and that's gonna take a while to deal with. But I'm really happy to have Mono on board. I'll try and remember to link their channel in the description, and if I forget, I'm sorry. Don't hurt me. Don't forget to be awesome, and we'll see you guys on the other side. See you later.
Yes. See you, everybody.